Just good. Okay. So we can share it with other members who didn't get to attend this joint meeting. So share the wealth, right? A little introduction from Mr. Baker. He currently serves as the Vice President of Health and Safety and Environmental for Logistics LP. He has over 25 years of experience in health, safety, and engineering or environmental prior to logistics. He held the position of Chemical Business Group Team Leader with the Goodyear Tire and Rubber Company. And he has extensive experience in developing and implementing world-class programs with an emphasis on zero-injury cultures. Mr. Baker has worked in multiple industries to include manufacturing, chemical, construction, oil and gas. He holds a BS, wait for it, from OSU, in fire protection and safety engineering technology. And he's a CSP and a professional member of ASSE. And one other thing, and which is going to greatly benefit our discussion tonight, is that he is currently being certified as an independent consultant, coach, trainer, and keynote speaker through the John Maxwell team, who is a fabulous leader. Please welcome Mr. Baker for our presentation.
Well, I gotta say, this is a dream come true, to come back to the School of Oklahoma State University, and specifically the School of Fire Protection and Safety, and I put much more emphasis on the safety side than I do the fire protection side. You don't want me doing anything with fire protection because it'll burn down. So it's awesome. Moved here, just a little bit about me, moved here to Oklahoma City about almost 2 years ago to take my current position with Logistics from Houston. But I got to tell you, Mr. Brown, now this is when you know you're getting old, when your professors have retired. That is scary. And never mind. I was going to say Leslie might think she's old by babysitting somebody, but I'm not going there. So, but let me tell you, Mr. Brown was telling me earlier that he used to use me as an example with parents that were bringing their kids to consider, OSU, School of Fire Protection, because he was showing how diverse the degree can be. Now, I'm not going to go through all of my jobs. Now, I graduated in 1995, and, I was, 20 when I graduated? No, I'm kidding. But was older when I graduated. But what I did is I went from job to job to job after about 2 years, 2.5 years on a job. So we were talking, when I graduated, I actually went into Frito-Lay in the chip business, went into the chip business for a while, went into the chemical business, and then went into the ice cream business, and eventually ended up in the beer business with Miller Brewing Company, and was asked to leave there after I sampled too much of the beer. Kids, don't drink until you're 21 and be responsible. That was a joke, all right? Hey, but, so, anyway, long story short, so I'm here. One of the things that I like to do is talk to students that are getting ready to graduate and talk a little bit about professionalism as you get into the workplace. I think one of the things, especially as I've moved up in the senior role, is I've seen a lot of students, whatever school you come from, that I really have to question what their motives are. So let me encourage you, if you're a student here tonight, to really think about what you want to do and what you want to accomplish as a professional. Whatever profession it may be in, let me encourage you to always be professional. I can tell you, as an alumni, obviously early into my career and more into it, I would look for OSU grads. I can tell you that recently I just hired a UCO grad as a regional HSE manager for Logistics out of Oklahoma City. Now, what I can tell you is in the interview processes that I've done over the many years, it's really concerning me on what I see the motivation for students coming out of school or 2 years out of school. And it's all about money. And money's good, don't get me wrong. I work because I have to have money. I guarantee you, I win the lottery, you won't ever see me speak again unless you come to the island of Tahiti, because that's where I'll be. I promise you that. But I got to tell you something. It's not always about money. It's about the opportunity. I learned it. I learned it myself. You're talking to a guy here that since 1995 has probably had 7 or 8 jobs. It's not about the money all the time. It's about the opportunity in what you can accomplish. So in the last couple of years, in the last 5 years, I'll say, with Goodyear and now with Logistics, I kind of realized that. Now I'm 49 years old. And it took me to be 49 years old to finally look up at my wife and say, you know what? This is what it's all about. It's about being happy. It's about being able to go to work every day and say, this is where I want to be. This is what I want to do. And I don't want to get off. This wasn't what I was going to talk about, but as I interviewed for this job, for this regional job, it really hit me that a lot of students really don't know what they want to do. And you would ask the simple question in an interview, what is your expectation in the next year, 3 years, 5 years? You know, students couldn't answer it. And I use students, let's say 2 years out of school. So let me encourage you now to start thinking about what you want to do, what kind of work you want to do, what kind of professional you want to be. Continuing education is always a very important part of it. Your certifications are very critical to your professional career as you go forward, okay? So I'll get off of that. Sorry for you alumni and for guys that have been in the workforce. You had to hear it too, but hey, it may help you, all right? So let me get into what I want to talk about today. I hope to do this in 3-4 hours, but we'll see how it goes. What I decided to do is talk about achieving safety excellence. And when I talk about a safety excellence, it can be whatever you consider to be safety excellence, right? Safety excellence can have a lot of meanings depending on who you work for and what you're trying to accomplish. But what I've learned over my career is that if you can't influence people and you cannot connect with people, you're never going to be successful. It is a critical part of how we have to work as professionals, especially in the safety side. So this presentation, this talk I'll talk about is built from my personal experiences. I'm going to tell you something. Before I went to school, I was 27 years old when I enrolled in OSU. The first 9 years before I went to school, since I was 18, I worked for the Texas Department of Corrections, or Criminal Justice now, as a prison guard and then later as a safety person before I came to school. So I built this because when I first got out of school, I thought the way you get people to do things is you body slam them. And it didn't work out because I found out real quick they were body slamming me, or I was always in trouble with HR. So I had to learn how to work with people and learn what it really means to get people to do what you really want to do. So this is built from my experience. I focused my career on changing the culture within an organization. Doing whatever I had to do to come into that organization, identify where they're at as a company, and then put together a strategic plan that would change the way people think. I've had to work very hard at that throughout my career. I personally work by the principles now that I'm going to talk about. Everything I talk about is who I am. If you were to see me out on the street, if you were to talk to Jay Smith, the guy I just hired from UCO, and talk about it, he'd say, man, he's a jerk, but that's who he is all the time. All right? So I personally work by what I do. I think this works in both a union, non-union environment. It works really well in a union environment because it's all about involving people. And it's a work in progress. I can't tell you how many times I screw this up. I was in Pampa, Texas yesterday and a little bit today before I drove out here. And if you don't know where Pampa, Texas is, you're lucky. Don't find out where it is because it's nothing. Anybody from Pampa? Sorry. Woo! All right, Pampa's out in the middle of nowhere in northern Texas in the Panhandle by Amarillo. But we had an issue yesterday, and I'm not usually there, and I was there because this guy I hired's in training this week, and doing orientation, had a guy fall asleep in my orientation, which is weird. As loud as I talk, that should keep him up. But fell asleep, so I really kind of slept, went back into the old days, and he no longer works for us, but the way it worked didn't work out right, because I think I actually picked him up on his shirt and threw him out. So, didn't work. I always go back. I didn't throw him out, but I asked him to leave. So I mess up all the time, and so you have to understand it has to be who you are and what you're about.